Hi, ZerkyWorky here. Welcome to my Space Real-Time Strategy Kit for Unity Introduction. I was inspired to make this because I love space games, and one of my favorite space games is called Sins of a Solar Empire, and that's one of the games that inspired me to make this kit. I tried to make the kit as universal and easy to use as possible, where you can create your own objects, your own planets, your own ships, your own behaviors for your planets and ships, your own races, your own weapons even, and I hope you like it. I'm going to start off by showing you how to set up a new game from scratch, and then take you through adding some of the elements to make the game work. Okay, I've set up a new scene, created a new scene, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the main camera and the directional light. We don't need those because those are included in the Space Real-Time Strategy Kit. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Lighting, to Window, Lighting, and then Settings, and up here for default skybox, we're going to reset this to one of our skyboxes that we have with the Space Kit. We'll choose this one here, just to make sure we have it in the back. And that's it. Go ahead and close this dialog. And then what we're going to do is in our new scene here, we're going to locate the prefabs core directory, and we're going to drag in and template directory, and we're going to drag in the space manager, the space action manager, and then from the core we're going to add space cam, space debris, let's see, space music, and most importantly the space UI. This is basically all the UI elements for the game. Okay. From this point, we should be able to click the play button and the game should run. And here we have the main menu with a little bit of a scene that I made in the background. You can of course change this to your own logo. You can also change the frame, the windows, the buttons, everything is changeable. You also notice that when we run the game and click New Game, we have no races. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a race, and I'll show you how to do that right now. Select the Space Action Manager, and under this section here that says Races, make sure this is folded out. Our first race always needs to be a neutral race. This is mandatory. So we're going to add a new race, and we're going to open this flyout here. We're going to call this new race Humans, and we're going to say Kofefi as our description. Whatever. Okay. So our race UI color, we're going to set this to whatever color we want. Let's say we want blue. Our capital planet prefab, go in here and we can find some of our prefab planets, and we'll type in Terra. This is our default planet type. Our planet icon, I got a list of different icons here, but we're just going to select that one. And our race picture, and we'll select this picture of humans here. And our race icon, these are all changeable of course, but there's one we could use for that. And our fleet icon, I usually use this one here. This isn't being used very much at the moment, so next thing we want to do is we want to drop in a behavior. So if we go to our SpaceRTSKit, Scripts, Behaviors, Races, and select Race Human Behavior, we're going to drag that in here. And so now it's set for Race Human Behavior. Our Diplomacy, if we want to use the Diplomacy module, first what we have to do is, might as well add those now. If we go into Prefab's Core, there's a space diplomacy object you can put in that completely handles all the diplomacy. We'll also add in the space market so we can sell and buy resources. Okay, so let's get back to these races in the Space Manager here. So we have our diplomacy set default for peace. You can set it for whatever you want. Peace is default. Base reluctancy, this is how reluctant they are to perform diplomacy with you. So the lower the value, then they're more likely to participate in diplomacy. The higher the value, the less likely to participate in any diplomacy. We'll just leave it there. Okay, default mechanics, we're not going to really get into any of the mechanic system right now, but we'll go ahead and save this scene. We'll save it My Space Game, and we'll call it My Space. Oops. My Space. One thing I forgot to mention is that we actually need 3 races. Of course, neutral doesn't really go with anybody. They fight everybody, so we needed to fight each other, humans and reptilians. So I went ahead and added reptilians. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Next thing we need to take care of is our prefabs. We've added these to our game from a prefab at the core, which are all populated from the SpaceRTSKit, but we want them to be part of our own private game. So what we're going to do is we're going to create individual prefabs that only belong to us with our information. So we're going to go ahead and drag each one of these into My Space Game, an Action Manager, and the Space Cam, and Space Debris, Space Music. I can drag them in here, probably be easier. Space UI, Space Diplomacy, and Space Market. Okay, so now each one of these belong to us. These are our personal core prefabs. Next thing we want to do is we're going to create a test group object. So we're going to create an empty object, reset it to default positions, and we're going to name it test group. So then we're going to go down in our scripts directory, we're going to find test group component and drag it on there. What this will do is that when the game, you can put all your game objects in here to edit them and use them, but when you run the game, it makes them go away so that they're not interfering with your gameplay. And that's very basic, very simple. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a planet. We want a Terran planet, so we're going to go up here to the SpaceRTSKit and go to Planet Creator, and we're going to name this Terra. And it's going to be a Terra planet. We'll make it a large planet, and we'll include the cover object, the cloud covers, and go create planet. And here's our planet Terra. We're going to drag it into our test group. So here you can see it's got all the components on it. So now when we look in the inspector, we got everything for this planet settings. So we're going to go ahead and give it a description and say Terra planets are good for life. I don't know, just whatever. It's not a capital planet, it's not a home. We'll go ahead and just leave all this defaulted, and we're going to go ahead and choose this Terran planet here. No death prefab, because planets don't get destroyed. You could add code to destroy the planets if you wanted, and then of course you could use this, but we're not going to do that right now. So down here in our planet definition, we're going to say it's Terran, planet medium. We don't want it to have a random size. We always want it to be large. It's really up to you. It's inhabitable. It's not a subplanet, which is like an asteroid that might, or a moon that might orbit a planet if you wanted to make a moon. And then that's basically it for that. So, and also make sure that the planet has a behavior. We put on the planet inhabitable behavior. And then, okay, so we're going to get into the actions now, or the mechanics, excuse me. The planet mechanics are what you use as customizable variables that you can set different values for different functionality and actions on a planet, a ship, or a weapon. So we need to copy from default for planet, which we don't have any yet. So we're going to go back to Space Manager. We're going to open up this default mechanics flyout, and we see a button here that says initialize mechanics. So we initialize mechanics, and it's going to put all the mechanics in there that I've been using, that I set up for the game. You can add more, you can remove any from the game. It doesn't matter, it's up to you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and apply that to make sure our prefab's up to date. And then we're going to go back to this planet here, and we're going to go down and select planet and copy from default. So now we have all the default planet mechanics. So we're going to go ahead and set the base growth rate at 1, infrastructure at 100, credit income 1, or production 1, whatever. You can play with that and do whatever you want. Okay, so we're going to head and apply that. Let's go ahead and create this. First, we're going to drag it over into our space game. Make a prefab out of it. Next thing we want to do is we want to go into the core directory and grab our space generator and put it also in the test group. And then, of course, we're going to create our own prefab instance of it, just like we did everything else. So now we have our space generator. In our space generator, here's where you set all your different settings for generating the space. You could probably just leave it the way it is. We got skyboxes, we got a star set up in here. Under planet prefabs, we're going to go ahead and reset this, and we're going to put our planet prefab that we just created. I'm going to lower this list a little bit so I can see things. It's Planet Terra. We're going to go ahead and put it over here. So that's our planet. And then, of course, we got other default things here. So we'll go ahead and apply that. If we go back to our Space Manager and look under Race Mechanics, we'll see that we have an area where we can add mechanics for the race, for each race, and each race will get these mechanics. I've added 2 of them to the game as an example, but they'll need to be used in order to make that functionality work. And one of them I called Fleet Points, which I set to 15. Which means that in the game, when you buy ships, you have to have so many fleet points in order to buy a ship. We're going to add another one, and this is a research action I added called FTL, for faster than light, which allows you to travel between planets without using warp gates. We'll leave it at 0 because that means that you don't have it yet. We'll go ahead and apply that. We're also going to have to make sure that we're not using the space generator that's from the demo game. So what we need to do is find our space generator in our game and drag it over into this slot so it's using our space generator. And hit apply. So now when we run the game, you'll see that it turns off our test group so that we're not going to get errors from anything. Well, you can't see now, but okay, so we'll go new game. We select. And here in our setup options, you can put in a random seed for your planets, how many players you want in there. We'll leave it at 2. Number of planets, all the way up to 100. We'll leave it about 20. And then this is how the distance of the capital planets from the star in the center. It can be like real up close to it or as far away as possible. I like to leave it, this is about Earth's range. I like to leave it about right there. Ta-da! There's our system, all created for us, all using our planet that we made. If you'll hover over it, you'll see that our population is going up, and the values that we set for growth rate and infrastructure are showing there. Terra planets are good for life. And you can see our planet showing up over here in the planet list. We're already starting to get diplomacy, and diplomacy is working. There's our enemy, the humans. He wants a treaty, but I'm going to decline. Our market's up and going. In fact, I think I'm going to declare war on him. Oops. Boom. Okay, so now we're at war. Market's working. Research panel, we haven't gotten any research or actions created for that yet. Our strategic advisor is telling us what to do. Our empire advisor. Okay, so everything's working great. So you can see that this is our home planet, and it's our capital planet, and it belongs to us, the reptilians. Everything's showing up on the mini-map just fine. Should be able to look around and look at these other planets. Show just where all the resources are. And that's it.